How's everybody doing? Welcome back to the channel. I hope you like and subscribe. I hope you share. Good morning. So this is a story about a road rage arrest. But before I get into the story, let me tell you or explain a little something, please, so I can help my viewers decipher my intention of these videos. Right? My main intention is to persuade people from living a negative lifestyle. My intention is to help people make better choices and decisions. All people, especially the youth, right? And so, if that is my main agenda, what is why do I tell some crazy stories from the past? Well, there's several reasons I tell some crazy stories from the past. One, they are entertaining in a way. I don't think that people could deny that the wild stories are a bit entertaining, but I don't want anyone to listen to these stories and think that I am condoning the behavior that I used to live or that I used to display, I should say. I don't condone negative, criminal, addicted behavior in any way whatsoever. But the fact of the reality is that is my past and that is what I lived through, you know. And so these stories are a way to help people understand what I lived through in the past and how out of control I am. But if any youth are listening to these stories and find them exciting in a way, or there's an adrenaline rush to about them, yes, there was an adrenaline rush, and yes, they were a bit exciting, but there were severe consequences. There were severe penalties that resulted in incarceration, that resulted in a lot of pain, that resulted in a lot of people getting hurt, including myself, my family, and other people. So I do not condone the behavior. But I still am going to tell the stories because that is part of my channel. Part of my channel is leading kids and people in the right direction and explaining prison and what incarceration is like in an intellectual and intelligent way, I hope. And part of my channel is talking about the crazy stories from the past. So this is a story about a road rage incident that I was involved in. I was not the instigator of this road rage. So maybe the lesson to this story can be to my viewers is be careful if you're ever in a road rage incident because you never know who you're arguing with. You never know who's having a bad day. And it's best to just drive away so you don't end up in a situation like the one that I am in. I have the actual report from the police department. This is a felony arrest sheet that I'm going to read to you. I'm going to leave out certain words because of personal information, like the victim's name and everything, but then I'll get right into the story and explain what happened. This happened on the date of, well, I'll get it. I'll get into it. I think it has the date in there. This is the city court, uh, County of Nassau, P.O. Green, number 205 of the New York Police Department, being duly sworn, deposes and says that on the 7th day of May, 1995, at about 9:50 p.m. on Park Avenue, State of New York, the defendant named above did violate Section 120.05-2 of the Penal Law of the State of New York, in that at the time and place aforesaid, the defendant did with intent to cause physical injury to another person, cause such injury to a person or a third person by means of a deadly weapon or a dangerous instrument. To witness, the defendant did intentionally cause physical injury to the complainant by striking him with a telescopic baton under the right eye, causing lacerations which required major sutures and emergency medical treatment at South Nassau Community Hospital. The above allegations are fact and are made by the deponent based upon information and belief as the defendant caused numerous injuries. Notice pursuant to the penal law, section 210.45. Okay, so that was part of what they call the felony complaint. That was the felony complaint. So now I'll tell you what happened in this story. In 1995, I was 23 years old. This was a year before I went away for unfortunately taking someone's life. So at this point in my life, I had already been arrested 7, 8 times for assault, 3 or 4 times for assault on police officers. Um, I was in various, I was in a lot of trouble in my life, man. But when this incident happened, and so I was driving over the bridge, and I was had a passenger, had my girlfriend in the passenger seat with me at the time, and out of nowhere, this guy just cuts me off. Really bad too, really bad. Cuts me off bad, right on top of the bridge as we're going over the bridge, and he makes me swerve into the next lane. So I said, "What is this guy doing? I mean, this guy's crazy." You know what I mean? So then I beeped the horn at him. And when I beeped the horn at him, he hits his brakes. So now I almost hit him. So it's a guy who's on the road just driving crazy. And I don't know what his problem is, in other words. I was as crazy as I was driving normal. I had my girlfriend in the car with me, and I'm coming over the bridge. And this guy decides to just cut me off real bad and then slam on the brakes in front of me. When I tap the horn, the guy's out of control. And then we get up to a red light. We both get stuck at the red light by this movie theater. And he's next to me on the left. And I'm looking over at the driver, who has a woman in the car with him, too. He looks like he's about the same age as me, too, the guy. And the guy's just staring at me like I did something wrong. And at this time, I'm a hot-headed guy. I mean, I'm really, I'm a guy that's, full of adrenaline and testosterone at the time. And so my girlfriend is telling me, "Joey, relax. Joey, relax. Please calm down." She goes, "You're out on 2 bails." I was out on 2 different bails for assaulting police officers. I had assaulted a police officer with a weapon, got out on bail. And then a couple of months later, or a couple of weeks later, I was arrested again for assaulting a police officer in another situation, got bail again. And so I was out on 2 bails. I had these open criminal cases. And now I got this guy cutting me off and slamming his brakes in front of me and staring at me at the red light. And to me, back at that time, I'm ready to get out of the car and destroy this guy. But my girlfriend is telling me, "Listen, Joey, please just relax. Forget it. You're out on 2 bails. Let it go." And I did something at that time in my life that I normally don't do, and I let it go. And so when the light turns green, I make the left. I forget all about this guy, and I'm driving for about another 3/4 of a mile, almost a mile. And now I'm turning down the block to get home. And just as I'm about to turn down the block, this guy cuts me off again. Bad. He almost hits me, right? I didn't even know he was still around. I didn't even see him. He pops up out of nowhere and cuts me off again. And now I'm furious. And I slam on the gas, and I get in front of him, and I slam on my brakes, and I box him in. So he can't move, because now he's got a car behind him and he's got me in front of him. And I jump out of the car, and there's like a little grass mall there, a little grass area where people walk their dogs. And I get out of the car and I'm waving him over. "Come on, man. Come on. Let's go. And so the guy comes, he pulls his car around. He pulls his car around my car, and he throws it in park, and he gets out. And when he's getting out of the car, I said, "Holy shit, this guy just kept getting out of the car." He was a big dude, man. I see him get out, and I'm like, "Oh, here we go, man. Here we go." So I really don't want to do this either, man. But this guy's driving nuts, driving crazy, screwing with me on the road. But sometimes people don't realize they're screwing with the wrong person. So anyway, he gets out, and I immediately put myself into like a fighting stance. Like I turn my body sideways, and I'm squared up. And he's walking towards me. And as he's walking towards me, I'm telling him, "Yo, listen, get back in your car, man." The guy's name was Frank, right? I didn't want to read his name on the report, but they have his whole name on the report. So I'm telling him, "Yo, get back in your car, man, please." I said, "You're driving like a jerk off, man." I said, "You almost killed me and my girlfriend. I'm telling you, get back in your car." And as he's getting close to me, he's saying something. And I said, "Listen, please." I literally tell him, "I'm out on 2 different bails, man." I said, "But don't do this to me. Get back in your car and get away." And that's when he's right about 2 feet away from me, and he puts his finger in my face, and he says, "You're not doing nothing, you fucking little punk." And just as he says that, I catch him with a big left hook. Whack! And he had glasses on. and I saw the glasses. I guess it was the plastic or the glass immediately cuts his eye open, and he covers up like this. And when he covers up, that's when I grab him under his legs by the top of his thighs, lift him up in the air, and drop him on the ground. And when I drop him on the ground, I get on top of him now. I'm straddling him. I'm in like a full mount position. And I start elbowing him in the face. Boom, boom, boom. And he's screaming now, I had enough. But now I'm amped up. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, you had enough. Bang, 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 bang. I'm really, really giving this guy a beating, breaking his nose, knocking his teeth out, elbowing him in the face. And then I grab him and I bite his face. One thing that I used to do to a lot of my victims, man, when they want to fight with me, I'm going to teach them a lesson now. I grab him and I fucking bite his face and bang his head off the curb a few times. And, he's out. He's done. And I look over and I see that he had a woman in the car with him too. And I could see her writing down my license plate number. I'm like, oh my God, I'm finished. You know what I mean? So I want to grab that piece of paper from her. So hopefully she doesn't remember it by heart. But when I get to the car, she got the door locked. I said, it's time for me to get out of here. So I jump in my car and take off. And I'm only a block away from my house. And as I'm driving down the block, my girlfriend is in the car with me. And she's like, oh my God. She had really, I guess, never seen me that out of control. I mean, she's probably seen me out of control before, but she was like, holy shit. Right. And so I get home. I'm like, I'm screwed. I'm fucked now because I'm out on these 2 bails. I got 2 bails from the police, man. They don't want to see me. So I said, I know what I have to do. I said, I have to get to the police station as quick as possible and file a report because he's definitely going to do this. They have my license plate number. There's no way I can get out of this. So I shoot home first. I'm only down the block and change my shirt because it's covered in blood. I change my clothes and then I drive to the police station, And when I get to the police station, I walk right in the front door. They don't want to see me, right? I am out on 2 different cases. I'm out on bail from assaulting their officers in 2 different cases, and they've arrested me 10 times in my life. So when I walk in there, they call me by my name. Hey, Joey, what's happening? So I said, listen, I was just involved in a traffic incident. I says, and it got physical. I says, and I want to file a report. You know what I mean? They said, no problem. They're being cool with me. They said, no problem. Tell us what happened. I said, I was coming over the bridge and I explained the story to them. A guy cut me off. I says, he cut me off a few times. I said, we end up getting out of the cars and getting into a verbal, argument with one another. I says, and then I tell him a little lie. I says, as we're in the verbal argument, I says, the guy just hits me. I says, and in truth, he really just put his finger in my face, but he did make contact with me. I says, after the guy hits me, I says, I kind of beat him up a little bit. You know what I mean? They say, okay. They say, were there any weapons involved? So I said, no, there was no weapons involved because there were no weapons involved. They said, I forgot. So I forgot to tell you this part. Before I got out of my car, I had a telescopic baton. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's like this little baton and you shake it and then the metal baton comes out and then you can push it back in. So when I got out of the car, I had one of those under the seat of my car and I grabbed it. And my girlfriend said to me, Joey, don't hit him with that. You'll kill him. And so I put it in my back pocket and I never used it at all during the fight. We got into the fight, boom, 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 but it must have fell out of my pocket during the fight. So the officer says to me, was there any weapons involved? I said, no, there were no weapons involved. They said, you didn't hit him with anything? I said, no, I didn't hit him with anything. And the officer says, you didn't hit him with this? And he holds up that weapon in a Ziploc bag, in a plastic bag. This victim had already dropped it off to the police station, and they had the weapon. He said, I beat him with this telescopic baton. Right. And that wasn't true. So I said, I didn't beat him with that weapon. You know what I mean? So they charged me with felony assault with a weapon. And they jump on me right there and they lock me up. And so I get in front of the judge and I get a bail, believe it or not. I'm out on 3 different bails, which is a story that I'm going to tell at another time, because while I'm out on the 3 bails, I get arrested again a 4th time. I could show you guys all this in writing. I was out of control, man. So to make a long story short on what happened with this, okay, this case was mostly dismissed, okay, because He gave a statement saying that I beat him with the weapon, but he didn't have any injuries consistent with the weapon. In his statement, he admitted that his eye was cut open from the glasses. He had the bite mark on his face that they knew that didn't come with the weapon. And so they were going to get ready to charge him with making a false statement to police for saying that I beat him with a weapon when I did not. And giving a false statement to police is punishable by an A misdemeanor, and he could face a year in jail for that false statement. So really, the officers that knew me my whole life, there's a few of them that still like me because my dad was on the job there, my grandfather was on the job there, my grandmother knew everyone in the police department. So even though I was kicking the shit out of half of them, there was another half of them that still respected me and my family and put pressure on this kid to drop the charges. I don't know what ended up happening with that case, to be honest. I can't even remember. I had so many arrests at the time, and I know I got out on bail, and I ended up getting in more trouble. It was within a year that I would go away for taking a man's life, anyway. But so what's the moral of this story, of this whole story? The moral of the story is don't get into road rage incidents, number one. Number two is don't screw with people on the road because you never know who you're screwing with. And number three is don't ever get out of the car. Especially these days, you don't know if someone has the pistol on them. You don't know what kind of day anyone's having, and it's the moral of the story is to avoid situations like this, because they can go bad real quick. They can go south real quick. I could have picked that guy up and dropped him on his head and he could have died. Things happen like that in the spur of a moment. But the truth of the matter is that in this situation right here, I didn't ask for it. I wasn't looking for it. I tried to avoid it, even when he got out of the car, by telling him, please, I don't want to do this. Just get back in your car. But this was a guy about my own age who decided he was going to screw with someone that day, decide he was going to go out of his way to make someone's life hell, and we both ended up paying the consequences for it. And so that's the story of the road rage incident.